Hey guys, Pete here, and welcome to a very special review. I apologize in advance for the videography on this one. I just don't have a space that's large enough or set up properly for the tripod that I have to film this all that well, but I'm going to do the best that I can for you guys. Today we're going to be reviewing my Seahorse case. It is the model number SE520F. I don't remember the exact specs on it, but I'll put them down in the description. It is a big case. I'd say about a foot by maybe 4 or 5 inches deep by, maybe, say, 10 inches this way. It is a massive case, and it only cost me about $62. So I was looking for a case for a very long time, and of course I immediately went to Pelican cases. Top of the line, absolutely excellent, nothing wrong with them. But they're way too expensive for what they are. Don't get me wrong, they work great, and they probably are worth the money. But this, a comparable size Pelican case, probably would have cost me $200. And that's not an exaggeration. Probably would have cost about $200. This costs 60 bucks. And it has everything you can get with a Pelican case. It might be slightly less rigid, but this thing is still virtually indestructible for pretty much any use scenario that you can think of. So, quick little look at the outside of it. You've got 2 latches on either side, both with air pressure seals. We'll talk about that in a minute. It has 2 holes on either side for padlocks. Do note these holes are a little bit smaller than your standard beefy padlock. I had to get, let's see if I can get this for you. I had to get kind of, slightly smaller diameter shackles because the standard size master locks would not fit through these holes, so keep that in mind when buying locks for it. It has this really nice handle. The whole thing is super hard shell, durable plastic. Around the back, let's see if I can get this for you guys. Around the back, you've got these 2 massive, two massive hinges, and a unique feature which I didn't think was a plus at first, but Seahorse kind of spun it as a plus. It doesn't use a metal pin through here. It apparently uses a plastic pin through the back. And apparently the reason for this is that with a Seahorse, with a Pelican case that uses metal pins, if this were to get bumped or damaged, that pin would bend and it would bind up and you wouldn't be able to open or close this potentially. So, interesting choice by Seahorse there. On the top, you've got their logo, Seahorse, seahorse.net. I bought mine from Amazon, however, you can get it direct from them. I doubt there's much of a price difference, but Amazon is generally pretty good at competitive pricing, especially from companies, surprisingly enough. It's got these ribs on the top, which is stylistically appealing, but it's also very rigid because of that. Opening her up, you've got the 2 thumb tabs down here. Very sturdy. There's no wobble on anything pretty much. It's very locked down, very rigid. Opening it up, wow, I really don't have enough room to showcase this guy in all of its beauty here. There, I got that out of there. So this is what you get. This has a gasket that's in the top part of the case, which I'll show you in a minute. It rides on rails on the inside here, locks that gasket in tight. It is pressure controlled, so there's a pressure relief valve on either side on the front underneath these tabs. And what that allows for is pressure differentials won't cause damage to your products. So as you were to take this, say, in an airplane, and it creates a vacuum, you're not going to get a pressure buildup inside this case trying to break the walls or anything. It will equalize the pressure itself, which is pretty cool. My particular model that I got from Amazon came with what's known as pick and pluck foam, which is really cool. You can kind of see it. Basically all it is this whole chunk of foam, this top layer of foam, has been scored with about centimeter square little chunks. To show you an example of what that looks like. This is what you're dealing with here, and you can basically, with your hands, you can pull it apart, but ideally you'd use a knife to kind of score your marks here. And these are the little cells that you get. What this means for you is that you no longer need to order custom fitted foam inserts. This pick and pluck lets you literally just, as it sounds, pick and pluck the spots that you need for your knife. So if I decide I need a new spot for this guy, I trace him out. The good tip that I've seen is to use toothpicks to kind of poke around and basically just get an idea for the outline of the knife that you're using, or whatever gear you're putting in here, by the way. It doesn't have to be knives, it can be anything you want. And then after that, I'm pretty much good to go. All I do is I go in here and I score it with an X-Acto knife and pluck out the cells that I don't want. I did that for all of these knives in here, and they all fit pretty much perfectly. It doesn't take much effort. You can be done in no time at all. I kind of messed up on this guy's slot. just because I was doing them kind of quickly, but otherwise, everything fits in there perfectly. As you can see, a lot of space, and it's deep, which means 1, 2, 3, and there's still foam down here. Still plenty of room in the bottom for more. If I remember correctly, beneath this pick and pluck is a layer of solid foam. It's still this type of foam, it's just not scored, so there's a sheet of that at the bottom. And all this is removable, by the way. You can pull this whole insert out and buy a new one, which is pretty awesome. In the top, let's see if I can get this for you guys. In the top here we have what's known as Eggshell, and you do have choices. This is the one that mine came with. You do have choices with what you're getting. I liked this because I feel like it would really lock in all of my knives and everything pretty well. As it sits on top, it just holds everything nice and steady. Again, you can change this out as you see fit as well. Lock that in there. The gasket sits in the top here on the top of the case itself, and it just locks in as you close it, which is nice. And I mean, really, you just can't beat it for the price. For 60 bucks, the amount of security that you get, no one's getting into this thing unless they really have the time to. If this is at an airport or something, it's pretty much safe. Unless someone physically steals the whole thing, takes it home, and then has the time to mess around with it, you really have nothing to be worried about, which is pretty awesome. I keep this for all of my knives, all of my gear. I'll keep my lighters in here as well. It's just really, really great. There really aren't any downsides to it that I can think of. I mean, it's a little bit hefty, but that's to be expected and depends what you put in it, so that makes perfect sense. It's an awesome, awesome case. I was so excited when I finally pulled the trigger on this guy. It just looks so much more professional than having your knives thrown into a box somewhere or thrown in a drawer somewhere. And on top of that, it's better for them. My knives aren't uber high-end, and I don't care about keeping them in mint condition for the most part, but it's just nice to have. In addition to that, there was a time when I wanted to do some self-defense classes, which is why you see all these training knives in here. And this, while it also looks really official, is very useful if you have students around and you don't want them obviously getting a hold of your training equipment when you're not around. So that's, you know, a nice little bonus. It can be locked securely, and no one's getting in here unless they really seriously have a great amount of volition and have the time and tools to do so. Overall, an absolutely excellent case. Like I said, I think I paid $60 for this thing, and you can't beat it for the price. There is just nothing else that I could want this case to do that it doesn't already. If you wanted to, you could go out and buy a set of trackers. I don't remember all the brands out there, but there are plenty of little crowdsourced trackers where basically, you know, the size of, say, you know, a quarter or something, and you could slip that in the layers of foam so that if it ever did go missing, you could track its location, which is pretty awesome, very useful. There's just so many uses for it, and the variability is just great because it's so deep, I can have multiple layers. I didn't choose to do it that way just because it seemed like a little bit more of a hassle, but had I wanted to, instead of stacking my knives vertically like I did here, I could have everything be horizontally in layers, take this whole insert out, cut it across in this direction, and lift this top layer up, have all my knives that were, say, trainers. Lift another layer up, have all my actual knives. And on the top layer, have this all be flat, I could have whatever else I wanted on there. A lot of variability, and again, I can just buy a whole new insert if I realize I need more, if I realize that I made a mistake. But there's so much flexibility with this style of foam. Say I didn't want this hole there. Well, all I do is I stuff this back in there, and that hole's not there anymore. Obviously, you would do a better job of it than that, but that's all it takes, guys. That's really all that it's going to take. I think that's pretty awesome overall. There isn't enough good things I can say about this case. I highly, highly recommend you look at Seahorse. Pelican, obviously top of the line, but I mean, for the price of a Pelican case, I could have gotten 2 of these, and to me, why wouldn't I get this? There's nothing a Pelican case can do, that I found, that this can't do just as well. So that's my review of the Seahorse case, guys. It's an excellent brand, an excellent company. They do a great, great job. They keep your stuff secure. It is water resistant. Obviously, nothing is 100% waterproof, but just absolutely excellent. And then, like I said, you can lock it as well. So you just take your shackle, put it through that hole, lock it up, and now no one's getting in there. That's with only one in there, so you can still yank it open up on one corner a little bit, but With 2 on there, no one's getting in. It's an excellent case. It's robust. It's sturdy. You could drop this thing off of a mountain. It would be fine. It's useful for camera equipment, for specialty electronics, for anything you need to keep safe, for fine glassware. Keep it in this case and it will be safe. It's good for airports. It's good for traveling anywhere in the country, out of the country. You just can't beat it, guys. You really can't. For high end, for on the budget, you gotta go with Seahorse. I can't say enough good things about them. So thanks again for watching, guys. As always, keep your edges sharp and your mind sharper, and I'll see you in the next one.